years in this division with Burrow and Lamar and the AFC loaded with great quarterbacks, and you have Mason Rudolph and there's Shedeur sitting there, and you have no second-round pick. Where's the young quarterback coming in, Boog? I'm taking Shedeur Sanders. I prefer him in New Orleans. I don't know what the Saints were thinking there. That's their decision. I disagree with it. But if I'm Pittsburgh, Shedeur Sanders, the pass on him at this stage at pick 21, Boog, come on.
All right, I'm told that the pick is in. The commissioner is making his way to the stage. Will this be the moment that we hear the second quarterback's name, or will the drop continue? Here comes Roger Goodell with the announcement.
With the 21st pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Derek Harmon, defensive tackle, Oregon.
You can hear the roar in this crowd. That is the surprise of many, and it is echoed on this stage. Let's talk about Derek Harmon. The young man can rush the passer from the interior of that D-line. Led all defensive tackles and quarterback pressures with 34. Mel, he was fabulous at the Combine. He's from Detroit. Started his career at Michigan State. Had one season at Oregon.
He had a really good season because he did something at Oregon that he didn't do at Michigan State, was compete and can be consistent on a game-to-game basis. He really, this year, took his game on a competitive standpoint to a new level. I know at Michigan State, you kept waiting for it to really hit home and really develop into that kind of player that his talent indicated he could be. And this year, he did it. He was disruptive. He got in the backfield. He hit Quinshon Judkins in that game on October 12th, caused that fumble when Ohio State had all the momentum. You watch him, guys, he can get into the backfield. Plays a little high, but he is a guy can learn from Cam Hayward. Talk about that. Will they weigh that position, that need, and having a guy that can be maybe the heir apparent to Cam Hayward against the quarterback, Shedeur Sanders? They opted for Derek Harmon because they love the fact he could be the next guy to take over for Cam Hayward.
Well, no doubt. And you talk about Cam Hayward getting a little longer in the tooth. This is something that Pittsburgh doesn't have, which is interior pass rush. You mentioned he led all defensive tackles as far as pass rush pressures from the inside. And when you look at Keanu Bitten, who they took out of Wisconsin, he's played well, but getting to the passer hasn't been his forte. This is an opportunity to fortify the defensive front. Again, pass on the quarterback, fortify the defensive front with T.J. Watt. I like what the Steelers are doing. You just wonder, without Aaron Rodgers, who's going to play the quarterback position for them?
That's a great question. We don't know right now.
No one knows.
Guess it'll be Mason Rudolph.
One wonders if they know. By the way, the Steelers' last first-round defensive lineman was Cam Hayward, whom they selected 31st in 2011. So there's the celebration in the Steeler draft room. The question is, when will the next quarterback come off the board? Come on back and find out. The Chargers are on the clock. We're back in Green Bay in just a moment.
Got a list of some guys who were great in the NFL, but they were old school pocket passers, and where they slid, now the NFL didn't really regard them highly coming out of college. That's a long list of names. The quarterbacks went on to be outstanding in the National Football League. Will Johnson, I think the injury affected him, pushed him down. Marion Hampton surprised. Denver didn't take. Once Denver opted to go a different direction, and Denver took Shedeur Barron, the cornerback safety from Texas. All of a sudden, Hampton could drop a little bit. The running back's not a big need. Please here. Josh Simmons would have been a top 5, top 10 pick had not been for an injury. Medically, he should be ready to go for training camp. Here's Matthew Golden. He would fit what the Chargers are looking for as well. Who catches the football and has great speed with that 4.29. The Chargers needs right now interior offensive line, wide receiver, tight end, and they could not stop the run. 27th in per carry average allowed last year.
There isn't any question, however, this has become now the story of the night. Shedeur Sanders, according to our draft day predictor, there was a 96% chance that he would be selected in the first 21 picks entering this draft, 21 being the operative number with the Steelers. So we are now in that zone where we wait and see if any team chooses to trade up from the second round to make the aggressive move.
We always act like we're in the 6th round of the draft right now, and Shedeur Sanders hasn't been picked. No. And we're still where Lamar Jackson wasn't taken. And last time I checked, the Baltimore Ravens took Hayden Hurst, a 25-year-old tight end at the time, out of South Carolina, tight end. And then they traded back into 32 to take Lamar Jackson. We're ready to pack it up at the end of day 1 and get ready for day 2, right? There's Lamar Jackson. That list of the pocket pass, Johnny Unitas, cut by the Steelers, passed over, right? Nobody wanted. Dan Marino passed over for Cal Davis and Ken O'Brien, right? Joe Montana went in the third round. Kurt Warner, undrafted free agent. Peyton Manning, people half the league like Ryan Leaf over him. It took Bill Foley to take him number 1 overall. Matt Ryan. Jake Long went ahead of Matt Ryan. They took him so far, something for Shannon over Matt Ryan. Pocket guy. How'd that work out, right? Drew Brees, second round. Chargers, then Miami didn't take him. Goes to New Orleans, right? How'd that work? Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant. Kirk Cousins, fourth round pick. They're all traditional drop back pocket passers. I didn't mention the greatest of all time, Tom Brady, sixth round pick. So just think about that list. The NFL didn't like him back when Johnny Unitas came out of Louisville. They didn't like him now. Now they've been burned 9 out of 10 times by passing on these guys.
I don't know if it's that the NFL doesn't like them. I think the NFL is saying that those quarterbacks, maybe like Shedeur Sanders, they don't do anything special. So we talked about earlier in the show about people getting wild with the off-platform throws and all these different things. Shedeur Sanders plays point guard from the pocket, and maybe they're not valuing that in the first round now.
But you know what, Bug? He does do something special. The first thing that quarterback whispers, guys who we respect the most as far as developing quarterback, that the first thing that they talk about when they're talking about what does it take to play quarterback at a high level in the NFL, they don't say wild throws. They don't say great traits. They say exactly what you said in your own highlight. Decision-making.
Yes.
Accuracy. That's what they say. Shedeur has made great decisions in the pocket, outside the pocket. When he's getting his head knocked off, he's made great decisions. He throws the football with accuracy. The whole arm strength thing, I mean, come on. Look, how many times? He's a nice passer of the football. It's as simple as that. He just is. What this comes down to, look, I'm going to try and look at this from a team perspective, right? Every team likes, teams like players. It's just a matter of what price do they want to pay, right? So they figure for him, if we're judging the landscape right here, we don't need to pay top 15 prices, top 20 prices. Heck, we may not even need to pay first round prices. Does that mean I agree with it?
But they need quarterbacks, though.
You're right.
The most important position.
Hey, they're taking all the teams that are passing on them right now, as Mel just mentioned, are taking a gamble. They're taking a gamble. The teams who need a quarterback, and if you pass on him and he winds up having a Drew Brees type of career, a Tom Brady type of career, which he's totally capable of. You're going to sit back and teams are going to. There's going to be a lot of revisionist history on him.
I get that.
There's going to be a lot of case studies done on why did people pass on him? Was it because they thought he was cocky? Was it because of his dad? Was it because he was too brat? All the other nonsense that you hear. Because it isn't because of how he plays the game.
I agree with you.
It's not how he plays the game.
All right, we have only had one quarterback selected. We have only had one trade made. If Shedeur Sanders was going to get drafted here, it would have to be a trade because Justin Herbert is going to be the quarterback of the Los Angeles Chargers. So I said that facetiously. Obviously, this is...
Chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Hôm nay mình sẽ hướng dẫn các bạn làm vòng bằng hạt điện.